March 2026. A $700,000 John Deere tractor throws error code E274F and drops to 2 miles per hour. It was not because anything was mechanically broken, but because a GPS subscription lapsed. The farmer had 48 hours before frost killed his entire planting window. He owned the machine outright, but Deere owned the code that made it move. What is now driving farmers to hack their own equipment is not rebellion, it is survival. A $700,000 John Deere tractor idles in a field of black Iowa soil, engine humming but barely moving, locked at 2 miles per hour. The display blinks E274F. The farmer, facing a 48-hour frost window, watches the planting schedule unravel. The machine is less than a year old, fully paid for, nothing physically wrong. But the Starfire GPS subscription, $1,050 a year, expired 18 days ago. Now, software decides the tractor won't plant. Within 2 hours, the farmer calls the nearest authorized dealer, 55 miles away. This dealership is part of a chain that controls 82% of John Deere's US locations. They promise a technician in 5 hours. By the time the tech arrives, the window is shrinking fast. The diagnosis shows the DEF sensor reports a fault, but the real problem is the lapsed GPS subscription. The tractor's firmware refuses to clear the error without the dealer's service advisor tool, a locked laptop program. No local mechanic can help. The dealer orders a replacement sensor, but it is back-ordered. Time slips away. Desperate, the farmer rents a legacy tractor at $210 an hour and hires extra labor at $30 an hour. The field is finished just as frost hits, but the delay costs 540 bushels of corn, $2,322 at market prices. The total loss for this 72-hour ordeal is $9,152. For a farm with $450,000 in annual revenue, that's a 2% hit in a single week, all because software made ownership conditional. When Netflix stops working, you lose entertainment. When the tractor stops, you lose the farm. Wall Street's software goldmine. At John Deere headquarters, the future of farming is spelled out in quarterly targets and investor decks. In September 2022, Deere executives set a $4.4 billion goal for software revenue. By 2029, 10% of total sales, carved out not from selling more tractors, but from locking core functions behind digital paywalls. The company's own SEC filings and internal memos lay out the strategy: convert hardware buyers into permanent software subscribers. The numbers are as stark as they are deliberate. A Starfire GPS subscription, essential for precision planting, costs $1,050 per year per tractor. AutoTrack, the auto steering suite, runs $12,000 to $18,000 upfront, plus $750 to $1,200 in annual service fees. Miss a payment, and the tractor does not just lose a feature, it loses its ability to work the field at full speed. The software checks in with Deere's servers at every startup, and a single lapsed subscription can trigger a critical fault that only a dealer can clear. The logic is simple. Software margins run as high as 85% compared to just 25% for hardware. Every function Deere can gate behind a subscription, auto steer, variable rate planting, even remote diagnostics, means more recurring revenue, less reliance on the unpredictable cycle of equipment sales. Internal engineering briefs show that if software renewal rates drop below target, the firmware lockout is accelerated. The system is not a side effect of new technology. It is a business model. Farmers own the tractor, but they rent the right to use it from Deere's server. When Netflix stops working, you lose entertainment. When a $700,000 tractor stops, you lose the farm. On Wall Street, this is called recurring revenue. On the farm, it feels like digital ransom by design. A modern John Deere tractor is wired with an astonishing 125 sensors, each one feeding data to a network of control modules and encrypted software gates. The service manual, sold for $149, lists 706 diagnostic codes. Of those, 627 are flagged as have dealer repair. When a single sensor, like the DF emissions module, reports a value even slightly out of range, the system triggers a cascade. The engine throttles down, the transmission locks into low gear, and the tractor is electronically shackled to 2 miles per hour. The display flashes an error, E274F, or code 0XC4A9, but the real gatekeeper is invisible, a cryptographic lock inside the powertrain control unit. A former dealer technician describes the process. You can swap the sensor, but unless you inject a dealer-issued pairing token with Service Advisor, the limp mode stays. No independent can clear it. The tractor checks for a valid Starfire subscription and a signed part pairing token before it will even consider restoring full power. Service Advisor itself is locked behind a dealer-only license, authenticated by a hardware dongle and a remote server handshake. The manual spells it out. Only a dealer with the right digital key can clear the code and pair a new sensor. For every critical fault, the farmer is forced to call the dealer, wait, and pay, while the clock ticks down on the planting window. This is not a technical safeguard. This is farming as a service, enforced by 706 error codes and a cryptographic gate that only opens for the company store. On January 8, 2023, the American Farm Bureau Federation and John Deere signed a memorandum of understanding, celebrated as a right to repair milestone, but the fine print left farmers exposed. John Deere agreed to provide diagnostic codes and software updates on fair and reasonable terms, yet never defined those terms. Fees could be set case by case, with no ceiling on subscriptions, and no promise of access to the tools needed to unlock a tractor from limp mode. Deere could withhold anything labeled a trade secret or a safety feature, and revoke access if licensing rules were not followed. The Memorandum of Understanding became a shield, not a solution. The $1,050 Starfire GPS subscription, the $12,000 AutoTrack retrofit, and $150 per hour in dealer labor remained untouched. In 2025, an Environmental Protection Agency audit found only 38% of John Deere dealerships complied with right-to-repair requirements. Most refused to sell Service Advisor software, tacked on hidden surcharges, or cited proprietary tech to block repairs. Farmers waited days, paid hundreds, and watched legal promises collapse when they needed help most. The dealership bottleneck. Across the United States, John Deere's 1,357 dealerships form a gated corridor for every critical repair. But 82% of these locations now belong to just a handful of mega chains, corporate empires that stretch service territories across entire states. For the average family farm, the nearest authorized technician may be 40, 60, even 75 miles away. During spring planting, that distance is more than an inconvenience. It is a ticking clock against the weather. A single call-out triggers a $230 dispatch fee before the technician even turns a wrench. Labor rates start at $130 an hour and can climb to $150 an hour, with a mandatory 4-hour minimum. Clearing a limp mode error code, often a 3-minute USB key procedure, still racks up a bill north of $770. But the real choke point is time. With mega chains controlling the calendar, farmers report waiting 5 to 7 days for a technician during peak season. The Public Interest Research Group found that 11 out of 12 dealers refuse to sell diagnostic software or perform a remote code clear without the full dealer markup. The result is a $700,000 tractor sitting idle in a field, while the farmer watches the forecast narrow. For Deere, dealer exclusivity is a business model. For Wall Street, it is recurring revenue. For the farmer, it is a forced dependence. Own the tractor, but rent the right to use it from the company store. As Nebraska's Kevin Kinney puts it, the only way to avoid a 3-day dealer wait is to download cracked Ukrainian firmware. When the dealer network leaves farmers stranded, another option waits in the shadows. On encrypted Telegram forums with names like AgHackEU, a cracked service advisor kit sells for $25 in Bitcoin. The sellers are anonymous, often operating out of Ukraine or Poland, and new members must prove they own Deere equipment before getting access. Forum moderators require screenshots of a successful code clear, and anyone caught leaking software faces instant ban and potentially legal trouble. For desperate farmers, necessity outweighs the risk. Nebraska's Kevin Kinney says, the only way to avoid a 3-day dealer wait is to download cracked Ukrainian firmware. The kit promises to unlock error codes, bypass subscription checks, and restore full speed. But it comes with a warning. In May 2022, a remote bricking attack traced to a compromised dealer server left dozens of Ukrainian tractors disabled until a ransom was paid. Every download carries the threat of malware, legal prosecution, or permanent equipment damage. Mechanics who use these tools face criminal exposure under US law, but for many, the alternative is watching a $700,000 tractor site idle while the weather window closes and Wall Street profits from every lost acre. The perfect storm. The lockout crisis is not a technical glitch. It is a system designed to siphon wealth from family farms to corporate balance sheets. The numbers make the intent unmistakable. $1,050 a year for GPS, $12,000 for AutoTrack, $150 an hour just to clear a code, and 82% of all dealerships controlled by a handful of mega chains. Farmers own the tractor, but rent the right to use it from Deere's server. When software disables a $700,000 machine for a missed payment, that is not innovation. It is digital ransom. Farming as a service is a Wall Street invention, not an agronomic necessity. The solution demands more than tweaks. Congress must pass robust right to repair laws that guarantee farmers access to the same diagnostic and reset tools as dealers. The EPA should require transparent audit logs for every remote kill switch activation, with fines for abuse. Subscription fees for core functions must be capped, and every dealer should be held to a 48-hour repair response during planting and harvest. Independent mechanics need grants and certification to break the monopoly. Only coordinated reform, legislated, enforced, and funded, can restore true ownership and keep American agriculture from becoming a captive revenue stream for corporate shareholders. Today, a $700,000 tractor can be digitally crippled over a $1,050 subscription lapse, while 82% of dealerships are consolidated and 627 of 706 error codes force farmers to pay $230 just for a technician to arrive. This is not innovation. It is corporate leverage disguised as progress. The field is not theirs. It is rented, line by line of code.